society right now, and maybe this is a tough point to talk about, but in society now, I feel like we're always, everything is so easy to achieve. If I want something, if I want information, I can go on my mobile device. If I don't have to walk to my friend's house and knock on the door to ask if they want to play. And so I find that the kids these days are less resilient and less accepting of failure because everything is so easy. And that's not to say that there aren't people out there that don't have it hard, or that's not to say that there's not people out there that aren't that way. But I think as a general rule, we're learning as coaches how to coach a new psychology. Kids are different. The parents who are raising these kids, many of them have not grown up with a mobile device, so they don't understand the right way to coach, and we can't give them advice on the right way to coach. We can only choose a path and try to lead them as well as their athletes. So for me, intrinsic motivation comes from accepting the fact that you weren't good enough on that day, or you didn't work hard enough, or you fell short in one way, or that person was a little better than you if we're talking about a competition. Now, what are we going to do to change that? Rather than telling them that they're bad or they didn't do something, we just have to accept that on any given day, we can have a good day or a bad day. What are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to make a plan that this doesn't happen again, or that this happens less often? And I think in doing that and accepting the success and the failure together and creating a plan of how can we make that better for the next time, I'm trying very hard to instill that same mindset into my gymnasts, so that when they fail, when I'm not looking, or when they fail in life, they can take that similar approach because it was successful for them in their sport, what they love, where their passion is. Why not try it somewhere else in life? I would say I have a moment like that every day, at least every few days. In our sport, we have not only high physical requirements, mental strength needs to be a huge thing when you're doing saltos on a 4-inch beam. So we have many moments where our strength is not enough to do an element, and we don't have a breakthrough. Or on the day, our mental state is not enough on the day, or we don't have enough flexibility for something else, or school's too tough. So very often we have these moments where we wish we could have breakthroughs, and I need to personally be better at managing that myself as a coach, because I take those walls very personally. I was successful because I was relentless at my goals, and I have to accept that sometimes my best needs to be enough. I felt that way as an athlete, but I think it's something harder for me as a coach to deal with, because I don't have control of this athlete, nor do I want control of my athlete. I would very much like to see them succeed, but I would like to see them succeed off of their own hard work and off of their own ethics and our work together, rather than pushing them to be a robot that I know will work, that I know will be successful, but I don't believe that will give them the right experience in sport. I don't believe that will give them the right love for the sport like I had when I was finished with my career. And I don't believe it will give them the right tools to continue on in life. So I have to be a little better at taking my own advice, but yeah, I guess a lot of people are in that boat. So I used sports psychology as an athlete because I was a very scared gymnast. And so for me, visualization was really important, kind of in the sense of meditating, being able to see and feel without my eyes open, so that I could picture my surroundings or picture my scariest competition experience, that I could relive it without being there. For me, that was one of the most valuable experiences that I have had in mental training. Of course, goal setting and positive self-talk. I think in sport and in life, we're dealt a lot of negatives. And I think life is maybe this sounds a little pessimistic, but I think life is a series of negative situations that we have to learn how to work through. Um, I think as human beings, we tend to dwell on the negative. And if we can turn each negative into a positive, it becomes a point of motivation. And when we overcome one of those hurdles, that hurdle becomes a success that gives us more strength for the next hurdle. So for me, those three things: visualization, goal setting, and positive self-talk, are probably the three most important things that I try to do as a coach, but the three most important things that I try to use in our training as well. We are working on here, bringing on a mental coach or a sports psychologist to work with our athletes predominantly, because I also do believe that while the coach should know a little bit of everything, there's nothing better than the experts. I definitely think that there are a lot of people out there who are very gifted. And in my personal coaching career, I've seen that wasted a few times. Not one or two were in my own athletes, and a few that I witnessed through colleagues of mine. And for me, I guess that added a little bit to my coaching philosophy, because these athletes were so talented and they were put on a pedestal so early in their lives that they really never learned to work through difficulties. They never learned to wait for that marshmallow, if you want to say. And so when they got to a point where everybody at their level was talented, what was the difference was the mental aspect. They couldn't adapt fast enough. And I guess I would have to say, going back to the previous conversation and previous question, at that point, it was probably where I had made a choice as an athlete and as a coach. This was going to be my life's work, was to help these athletes have the tools to be successful for the rest of their lives. And of course, I'm using my sport to help instill those qualities and those motivations. But more importantly, having happy and healthy human beings that are going to be leading our world in the future is far more valuable to me. I may work with these athletes for 10 years or 4 years or 12 years, but they have a long life after sport. And if I can instill positive characteristics that are going to help them be successful, I've done my job. Time management, mental strength, and grit, I guess I should say, determination, perseverance, the ability to cope with failure. I think I was talented, but I wasn't on a different level like some of the athletes I've seen or some of the athletes that I've worked with. My sport didn't come naturally to me, but it came more naturally to me than other people. But for me, what was my strength as an athlete was my never quit, never give up, find a way to be successful rather than finding an excuse to be successful. And so for me, that's what's my driving factor in trying to help athletes is the good and the great is 100% your ability to deal with failure.